Seconds here. All right. Go for it, sir.
All right. So welcome everyone. This is Squire Kirshner. I'm a guest facilitator for MVP Office Hours this week. I'm really looking forward to being part of it this week. Welcome everyone to the call. I see the numbers ticking up as we speak. Hopefully they're not going to go down because of the new facilitator. As always, Jared and I shouldn't say always, but Jared and Dale are both on today. Jackie is on vacation, and so I've been voluntold to help out as best I can. And so, as always, questions are open, and we want to try to help. So, really high level. Let's start at the top. There's a lot of events coming up in the next couple weeks. And months for that matter. Witness Success is just around the corner. Forcelandia, Midwest Dreamin', near and dear to my heart in the Midwest. Daydreamin' and Czech Dreamin' are coming up in August, and Down Under Dreamin', and of course Florida Dreamin', and that's just the next couple months. So following that, just a reminder that the community is the primary driver for everything that we do here, and there's Trailblazer groups for your regions as well as cultural and business centric verticals. So check out the Trailblazer community group link and make sure that you're connecting with as many of your Ohana as you can. Dale, I don't remember. Oh yeah, it's right there. Something we wanted to call out this week specifically is the Trailhead now has a link on the main page that links to all the events and webinars and the calendar. Great way to stay ahead of all the possible learning opportunities in the near future. And I hope everyone has a Trailblazer account or a Trailhead account, but you're using it and benefiting from it. The success calendar and the events calendars are always up to date as well. The Trailhead is just more and maybe easier to keep track of. So going on from there, just some guidelines for the call. Always make sure that that you're here not just to ask your questions, but to share and collaborate, and we're all here to help each other. So, whatever you can offer is beneficial. We all started somewhere, and so every question is important, and every answer is valuable, and so speak up, help each other out. When you're not talking, although, please mute yourself. Background noise can be a real challenge for us. If you've got a question, raise your hand in the chat or comment in the chat, and we will definitely identify you and get you into the call. Announce yourself when you join. And then we're going to use the chat for all the resources and links that are important for the conversations, and we will also be logging those into the slide deck and posting that later on. And if necessary, feel free to share your screen to show us the examples, the screenshots, the experience that you're having when you've got a problem that we can help with.
And just to add one thing on the sharing your screen, if at all possible, don't show us your production org. Don't show us real data. if you can do that in a sandbox or dev org, that's preferable. But if we need to do production, then so be it. This is being recorded. That's why we call that out.
Yes, good call
out. So I think with that, we're going to go ahead and dive in. We've got a pretty good group, and it continues to grow. And so if you've got a question, a concern, a problem, raise your hand and let's get started.
So we have 3 hands raised in the chat. Marty, I saw your name up first.
Marty?
It says you're unmuted. You might be muted on your end, like on the phone or something. Now you're muted again. Technology.
Unmute.
There we go.
Okay, sorry.
No worries.
That's all right.
So, it's a report question. I have a client that has opportunities and there's a related list associated with an object that they called associated companies. So it's for each opportunity, there may or may not be multiple companies associated with this opportunity. And I'm trying to create a report that shows the opportunities with the associated companies. And so if I use the basic report type, it only showed me opportunities that had the associated companies. So I created a custom report type to show with or with opportunities with or without associated companies, but I'm getting multiple rows for each opportunity that has multiple associated companies.
You're getting
Multiple, like a row for the opportunity. So if it has 2 associated companies, I'm getting 2 rows, and I want to see the associated companies preferably as a column.
Are you doing?
There are.
Are you doing this in the classic report builder or the Lightning report
Lightning
builder?
report builder.
So take your opportunity and drag it up to the top section on the left and group by. Essentially the same thing as a summary report in classic.
Oh, group by opportunity.
Yeah. And then you would probably need to remove, you may need to remove any opportunity fields from the report columns in the lower left part.
So, yes. Oh, so that's still giving me group by opportunity. That's what I'd done, and I'm getting subtotals. And since most don't have associated companies, and I'm still getting the 2 rows. Can I show you? I've got a demo org. Yep.
Please.
Okay.
So a little context on that. This is Pete. When you have a with or without report, the nature of the return have 1 row per child record. So in this case, it'd be a related company, and 1 row for every parent that does not have a child. And the suggestion is that if you group by that parent field and hide the details, then you'll have 1 summary row for every parent, whether they have children or not.
That's exactly what I want, I think.
Yeah.
So someone else is sharing.
Squire, you might need to stop your sharing.
Okay, I can do that.
Additionally, do you need granular information about the companies, or are you just trying to figure out which opportunities have them and which opportunities don't?
No, they want like all the detail with the on the row.
Okay.
All the detail of the opportunity, detail of the opportunity or associated company?
Detail of the opportunity.
Gotcha.
And the associated company also has can also have contact, etc. In this demo org, I just have the account name, but yes, they might want that too. But
yeah, because if you only need details about the opportunity, what you would do is report directly on opportunity, and you would use cross filter to say only show me opportunities with. You could say only show me opportunities with, and that cross filter allows you to say where I have child rows or where I have child rows that meet specific criteria.
So
I think the first piece is just you can take off the subtotal checkbox. That'll make it easier to read.
Well, hold on. Let's take a step back here really quickly. So you need to see, let me make sure I understand. You need to see all of the rows of associated companies as well as the opportunity detail.
yes, and so this is obviously just a quick. So what would be better would be this might be better, but what they sort of would be Grand Hotels, and again, this is a total demo org, and then 2020 printing over here, but there might be up to 10. I've seen opportunities with up to 10 associated accounts, but this is definitely a better version than.
Right.
You won't be able to extend it to the right. It's still only going to show that column that you're looking at. There are some there's some like hacky tweak like tricks that you can do, but I wouldn't recommend going down that path just yet.
See, but because this is a simple report, all the columns that I have in the real report, they're seeing twice, which they find annoying. But okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, and so the other option is, I mean, you're going to see it twice. I personally struggle with this too, especially with the uninitiated the user that's just getting a report.
Right.
In theory, you're supposed to, right? You're seeing a opportunity, but every combination of the opportunity and the child record.
Correct.
So you kind of, that's just how it's going to work, right? You can flip the report type if you needed to say, give me all accounts who has and the parent opportunity. Then you'd only get one row per account name, but now you'd get multiple opportunities listed for every time they're related to a opportunity. So you kind of get the nature. It's like the nature of the beast, I think.
Well, and also that other way, that's honestly where I was thinking of going when I re-asked the question, and then I thought, well, no, then you can see the opportunity many times. What you then also lose is any of the opportunity detail where there are no associated companies.
Right, because I have that version here. That's how we started out. But yes, okay. Thank you very much. This at least
if I can offer one other option, just if this is something that you're regularly being asked for and the output is difficult to handle, you can use there's a variety of tools. We like to use the declarative lookup summary tool that's available. You can actually take the DLRS tool and make a block string of all the child records and put it in a text box on the parent record. Now you get singular rows, but with like a big text box, which it doesn't give you the columns you're talking about, but might help with some of the reporting output.
Okay. Yeah, they don't have that many opportunities total. They look at this weekly. So, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
It does beg the question, though, if there's an idea out there that would support a single opportunity with many child records, how can you get a single instance of the opportunity with all the details about that one opportunity without having to go to pretty extreme measures? I'd challenge anybody to find an idea out there for the idea exchange to work on.
Okay. Go ahead, Dale. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you if I have to switch it back, and I did. So we're back to my slide. So there was a couple other hands you mentioned earlier.
Yes, looks like Josh Stein was up next. Josh, if you can unmute, please, sir. I wonder if we need to. Josh? We can circle back to him. Jen.
Hi, I have two questions. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so my first question was, is there a way to gather information on an email to case other than the one that's already there, like the standard subject, web name? Like if I wanted other information, is there a way that I could update the case record from the email instead of a web to case?
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I assume that you're asking a declarative way to do that, right?
Either way. I know I've tried to do it in configuration and there's nothing. So if there's a way that I could do it, like Process Builder or Flow, would you recommend that or no?
And it's an existing case, you're saying?
Well, so I have users that are sending an email. We're enabling that. They send an email, we create a case. If they could include the information that we need, onto the body. Right now, they can do that, and then whoever owns the case owner will just look at that email and populate manually, right, on the case, the fields that we need. But if there was a way we could do it programmatically, I know it's tricky because we have to look to parse out the body of the email. I don't know if that's even recommended. It's prone to errors most likely, right? If they don't follow the format that we want, then we'd be picking up the wrong fields.
Yeah. Is the email, is it all internal or is it external?
Internal.
I asked because we were utilizing an email form from Outlook, if you're using Outlook, which at least gave you some guidelines to programmatically pull what you needed, because you've got a field name and an input field coming in the body of the email, but it really only works if that's the only way they get submitted. And you still, in our case, we had to programmatically then parse out everything from the inbound message.
Okay. Did you use Apex or did you use Flow?
We used Apex at that time, and I'll also throw the caveat that it wasn't great. it was a painful, error-prone process, just because you still are dealing with a kind of a free-form import field or input field. But it got us moving, and it actually helped us identify what we needed to do. Was actually, we went down the line of leveraging case for the employees themselves to just fill out a case record versus an email, and then it helped them kind of control it.
Okay. Okay, and then my second question was, just curious, I was doing a data load, inserting records, and there was one field I couldn't find, and I know I have access to that field. There was one field I couldn't find and map to when I was doing the insert. So I did the insert, and then it's a lookup field. I did the insert, and then I had to get my success file and did an update based on that for that one field, because it was available in the update but not on the insert.
Is it a self-referential field? Like, does it refer to its own record?
No, it refers to a different object.
Was it a brand, like a newly created field?
No.
Oh.
It's been there. I just wondered. I'm like, why do I have to do this twice? Why can't I find this field?
Hey, the only time I've ever seen a field that I know I have access to not show up is when you log into Data Loader. Then you create the field, like the Data Loader session predates your active working session, but I'm stumped on that one. If the field already existed when you logged into Data Loader, then yeah, you should have seen the field.
Yeah, I just couldn't find it. It wasn't available for me. I kept, it took me what would have been a 10-minute job on Data Loader. It took me like an hour looking for that stupid field. And then I just did an insert. And then when I did the update, the field was there. I'm like, okay, this is weird. I wondered if anybody else had that issue.
I mean, for me, I always have the problem that I can't find the field when it is there. So I sort by the type. And this way I can say, okay, well, I know it's a lookup, so it's going to be in this section, because, I always somehow manage to find myself in the org that has 400 custom fields on a given object. And that's what I've got data loaded to. But barring that, I think it's the session is the only other explanation I know. That obviously, and you can't data load in the formulas, but this is a lookup.
Oh, okay. Marty said field needs to be in the page layout? Yeah, it is on the page layout, though.
No,
that shouldn't apply.
No.
Yeah.
No.
API doesn't care about page layouts.
Yeah, and it is on the page layout, so I don't know.
Any chance there's any? I don't think the data loader is smart enough to know, but any chance there's some sort of like validation or our filter on the field that prevents you from loading it?
Data loader wouldn't be that smart.
Yeah, it's not that smart, is it?
Filter, but it shouldn't care because it made me do the update.
Yeah.
But I just didn't insert.
Data loader would only get smart enough when you tried to actually execute the data set, and then the filters and the validation rules would fire and potentially error, but it wouldn't know up front. That is super weird. Not that we want you to have to recreate it, but that would be an interesting one to actually watch happen. But
yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay. Thank
but you're
you.
good now. You were able to at least move on with the second step. That's at least something, I guess.
And if I could too, the case item that you brought up too. I mean, I'd hate for you to leave with kind of a lot of wishy-washy responses. So, have you posted anything on Success to see if anybody else has dealt with something similar?
Not yet. I could post something.
I think it'd be really valuable.
Yeah. Was today, and I might as well ask it first.
Yeah, I vaguely remember having to research that in my early days of being an admin because I had users that thought it would be great to have, and there are message threads out there on that topic, so you may find something.
All right, thank you.
So Josh, go for it, Josh.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Great. I've got a question about connected apps. So we discovered that some of our sales users back in March bought licensing for an app called ZoomInfo, not from the App Exchange. And then basically they get a repository of contacts, and then they import them into our org.
You're really quiet. Can you speak up?
Is this any better?
That's better.
Much.
Okay.
Much better.
Let me know. Do you want me to start over?
No, we heard you were just a little bit more faint.
Cool. So my question is, I know you can go and set up and look at connected apps and OAuth connections and kind of view that. This one was a little tricky. It wasn't, it had a different name than what the actual app is. But is there any sort of notification that we can set up somehow to get notified when a user connects via something over OAuth, or prevent that from happening altogether?
So you're wanting the notification to happen when they try to access the app, not necessarily when the data from the app is coming in.
Either or. I mean, if it was the data from the app coming in, that would be, specific to, hey, we're on the lookout. We want to know if new contacts enter from a different source, but more of just best practices for how people, how's an admin we should be managing, users that just decide to go out and connect other tools to our Salesforce org.
I'm kind of curious how they were able to establish a connection with Salesforce without being an admin.
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of apps out there that allow you to just OAuth directly in. There are settings and profiles that allow you to prevent people from ever doing it. I've never seen anyone deal with for instance, like Power BI is one of the challenges that we deal with, and anyone who has a Salesforce connection can OAuth connect unless we block that app, right? But there is a setting in system I was looking for right now that prevents people from being able to do that. I was going to see if I could find it.
Sorry, I just stole share away from you because I have my dev org open if we wanted to poke through
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
One thought, if you're just trying to get insights into login metrics, event monitoring may be an option for you, which is it is a paid add-on, but it comes free with Shield also.
Okay.
Yeah, imagine if someone connected your production org to their Trailhead account.
Is this where we all? Is this where we all collectively shake our fists at sales and say sales? So Squire, can you see? I'm on just a profile page.
Yep.
What should I be looking for?
So I know that there are a couple settings tied to REST services and SOAP services. I'm not saying that that's the way to do it. I was looking myself on my page as well, but I know there's a way to prevent that OAuth connector, and I'm going to see if I can find it. And at the bare minimum, we can follow up after the call and post it.
Do you want the screen back if you're already in a place to show it?
I'm in my work org, so I don't want to.
Gotcha. So no.
I'm having enough trouble just keeping my browser in the right window, so I don't want to do that. Let's see here.
Like there was, so I'm in the admin permissions section right now. You got Apex REST.
And I believe it is connecting over REST.
Yeah, most of those OAuth connections are, so that would be a surprise.
Right.
I can't find my way around the old profile editor. I only use the enhanced one.
Do you ever use Google Find in the upper right-hand corner of your browser? Because that's what I use to find stuff, because seriously, I hate scrolling.
Oh, yeah, Control F.
Except it doesn't play nicely with, or quickly with Lightning.
Yep. Let's see here. I tell you what, just because as riveting as this search is, maybe I could work with Dale or Jared afterwards, and we could figure it out. Or even I know Pete, this is probably something that you're familiar with too, right?
Yeah, I'll take a look in the background while the call continues.
Yeah, I'm certain there's a control. I've seen it because like I said, I remember fighting to say we should turn this off, and salespeople want to be able to connect and use scanners and do all these unique things without without having to jump through hoops. So
yeah, you can use the manage connected apps setting.
Oh yeah, right. Connected. There it is. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's in the setup. Yep.
Great. So manage connected apps.
There it is.
So that because that create setting, if it's on, the user can then OAuth and create the connected app. Is that right?
That's correct. You can just go and set up to say how you want to authorize. You want the self-authorize, you want the administrator give the permission, or you can decide. There are 4 options will be there in that.
Excellent. Great. Thanks so much, everybody.
And then, of course, comes the business process question. Are you prepared to have a difficult conversation with sales to explain to them why you turned it off?
Actually, we've already blocked it.
There you go.
that
you're halfway there.
Yeah, that specific app. While we've got legal looking at it to see if that's something we even want to be doing. So, yep, halfway there.
There you go.
If it helps with the conversation, I think the biggest kind of tick on your side is that by not having controls, people can leave with data as quickly as they can import. That will get legal really fired up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, great.
All right. So next up we had Addy.
Hey guys, can you hear me? I want to share my screen to show my ER model.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to show. Can you guys see my screen of ER model of my system? Yeah. I want to talk about a little bit of a SOCL and the ER model and ask some questions.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a Salesforce CPQ and billing and all the sales and marketing clouds, everything. We have a account and it related to a quote and a quote line and invoice lines. And we have a custom data, which is called distribution. The one which is I put it into a pink color with 3 objects in it called distribution header and a version and the actual NTS where it is located, where it's going to mail. That set of 3 tables is called distribution set, and that same distribution set is used in many of the order lines. So it is not a parent, it is not a child record to the order line, it is a parent record to the order line. So how do we retrieve the data of this version and job NTA selections on a SOQL query along with order lines?
I got an answer you're not going to like.
I know. Don't tell me summarize
well,
the data
then,
and
fire
put it
away.
This is what I like to call the fake polymorphic lookup. You create a junction object between order lines and job NTA selection, and you use either Apex or flows to govern the creation and deletion of that record. If they're if they have a common master detail parent, you can use the decrease of roll-up summaries to identify when one of these junctions needs to be deleted. But unfortunately, the connection between your reporting object and order lines, and the connection, the connection between order lines and job NTA selections cannot be master detail, because you're only ever going to have one or the other populated. So you have basically this junction object between them that allows you to identify the associated parent. And then you can link them up. It needs to have another relationship that would be master detail to the sales line header. And then from a reporting perspective, the reason I call it the fake polymorphic lookup is because we've got, parent A on the left and we've got parent B on the right here, but we need to get them into a common column. So we use a hyperlink formula field that says if A is populated, give me the name of A and link to the ID of A, vice versa with B. For columns that are common to both, for example, let's say they both have an amount field, we would use those same kind of formulas in our custom report type. And for columns that are not common to both, then we just use lookup functionality and traverse the relationship model to pull down the fields that only exist on one or the other. This is a bit of a janky solution, but I have implemented it a couple of times, and we do use this one in.
So are you expecting me to add another object, child, to the order line items?
Yep. It would always look up to sales line header, so that can be master detail. And it would have lookup to order line and lookups to job NTA selection. This way, you have one object that is a common child of all of them, that this way you can link to those disconnected children of a common parent. The common use case that would be like, show me accounts with opportunities and orders. It's a way to get around the limitations of joined reports.
So the question now I have a little more to expand is that sales line header is basically a kind of a key to reusing in order lines and invoice lines and quote lines. Many places using the same ID, which is basically telling is whatever you quote at time, this distribution is used. The same thing is went to the quote lines, order lines, and invoice lines also. So do I have to have a separate child relation for the object, for the order lines, a quote line, and invoice lines?
Yeah, that wouldn't necessarily hurt. I mean, when you have multiple disconnected objects at a common grain, they all have a common parent, but think of it like this. If your ERD looks like the letter V, you report on that lowest object. If your ERD looks like a letter A, that's when you need to create this junction. So you have more like a letter M, where we keep going up and down the data model. We need one base grain that connects to all of these different things. So you'll have to have one row for each connection. It can be a spammy object. You can end up with a lot of data because of this. But if you're not having too many issues with approaching your data cap, it's fine. It's a little tricky. I would recommend doing it with Apex rather than flows. If you can keep your use case narrow and you have a common master detail parent that all of these records sit underneath, then you can govern this object with flows. But if you're doing it in bulk, it's not necessarily the best. If you've got the Apex skills, I would recommend doing this with Apex.
Yeah, we have the Apex skills. The problem is we are using the Conga Composer, which is another tool, and that needs a SOQL queries to retrieve the data, not the Apex code. So we are trying to bring this into a parent-child relation, but still we want to maintain this lookup relation to the distribution so that it maintained a at one place. And I think I just have to understand how I can add a new child objects to the order line and still pointing to the sales line header.
So I think, and I may be massively oversimplifying this, but in a former life, I lived and died by Conga Composer as an admin, and with its SOQL functionalities. Are you able to potentially just have multiple SOQL queries and an if statement that governs them so that you ultimately know what data it is that you're trying to pull?
What I understand from the SOQL limitations or a SOQL query on that is you can always retrieve the multiple queries, but any child objects you can retrieve it, but you can't do the nested queries. What is that means is I can retrieve all order lines on a one query and corresponding sales distribution version header and job NTA selection on another query with a nested query in it. That gives just like how standard example is when I'm selecting accounts, I can always select the corresponding opportunities and corresponding contacts on a nested query. But here this is not a child object, so I can't able to select the that data.
Let me throw a different question at you then. How, since you're using Conga, to where is this data ultimately going?
It's going to invoice template as the output. We want to show basically every invoice line. I can select that in a single query from the account and account invoice line and all the details. For each invoice line, I want to show what is my versions, how many versions are there, what is the job NTS for that version.
So, I mean, again, it's been a few years since I've actually touched Conga, but one of the things that I was able to play with is where you put your variables in your SOQL statements that then essentially in a URL parameter or however you're actually engaging this document to be run, you can put a variable literally anywhere in a SOQL statement where Conga is playing. And what I mean by that is even your from object name can be a variable. So have you explored any of those possibilities that then one level higher in the process is where there's some kind of an if statement governing all of this, including have you implanted if statements in your actual templates to then dictate what query to go run, to pull what data? Passing variables back to
Not exactly. I know I little bit understand from you trying to say, hey, you can pass the variables from a query into another query. My understanding is like this. Let's say in this example, if I'm retrieving all the invoice lines and order lines in a query, and then I can able to look up the account information from another query. I can able to look up the franchise information in another query, but not to the a lookup to a sales line header and the versions and then job NTA. I can't look up and down to the other child record or something like that.
Okay.
That's even our standard SOQL, not even go into the Conga Composer and things. Standard SOQL statement. On a single select statement, I can't able to retrieve the order lines and job NTA selection. Unless I do something like what you are mentioning about some other object I create where I replicate the data to have like a child relation to all the versions or something like that.
Yep. And then you can traverse up that way. So I would assume that you wouldn't have to necessarily create a formula field for every possible relationships field. Yep. You can always go from, parent.parent.parent. The thing I actually need. But yeah, one junction object to rule them all may be a more elegant solution for you. But I also I'm not a huge Conga guy, but
Can you tell me just a little more what between two objects, which one is a junction object, which object to which object you want me to make a junction object?
So here's here's the basic principle. I have a parent with two child objects. My child objects are called A and B.
Right.
So that's it, just that simple. Now I have a junction object. Yep. So I have a junction object that let's use account, order, and opportunity as our sample. So I have a junction object now called my reporting object. It needs to be master detail to account. Then it needs to have a lookup to opportunity and a lookup to order. Now, if we just needed to report on it, we would use, for example, the amount field is common across both. We would create a formula for that.
Yeah.
If we need to report on it, we would create a hyperlink to say, well, whichever parent is populated, give me that one's name and let me link to it so I can get all of my stuff in common columns. For stuff that isn't common, you just use the custom report type. But in your case, since you're using SOQL and you can traverse the relationship model, you really only need 3 fields on it: a master detail relationship to account, a lookup to opportunity, and a lookup to order. And then your SOQL logic would basically be like, it would look at which fields are and are not populated to determine your conditions under which okay, you're a child of opportunity and you're a child of order, and you would put that into your where clauses so that you could get just the information you need.
Okay. I think I a little bit understand. I have to try that object, that special object where I can bring the data into as a child data to the order lines in my situation.
Yeah, it's a little bit janky, and then when you go trying to explain to IT why you created this thing, they all laugh at you. But at the end of the day, the important question: does it get the job done?
I'm from IT. This is a very heavy architecture work on the system to get. The reason behind that is that pink color distribution screen, what you are seeing, called a repeatable use in many times.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, especially the amendment and all the process, we have to repeat that same data again and again to use it. I think I got a little bit further. Thanks for your giving some ideas to think and think through that. Thank you.
Yep. Best of luck.
Thank you.
All right. Good conversation. See here. Who do we got next, Dale?
Josh, did you have another question, or was your hand still up from the first one?
Nope, sorry. I'll take it off.
No worries, no worries. Anybody want to speak up with anything off the cuff?
The Analytics Champions program is live. I'm part of the inaugural group. It's kind of like Lightning Champions as well. So and I think they're going to be expanding to other domains. But basically, if you're looking for more information on any given specific topic that has a Champions program, it helps connect you to people that are well versed in it. So pretty cool. That went live earlier this week.
Along that similar note, myself and my other platform architect we're going to be attending the rebranded Einstein Academy. There's one in Chicago, and then I believe they're doing them every couple of weeks around the country to really get kind of a deep dive 2-day conference on Einstein Analytics and Analytics Plus and Discovery and everything. So that maybe they kind of are rebranding that a whole like outreach. Does that sound similar?
Yeah, they used to call those campfires, and they changed the name to academies. That's Ziad Fiad and Ricky Hovgaard are trainers on that. It's good content, especially if you're a Salesforce client that is looking to, or customer that's looking to get into analytics, or if you have licenses and you're looking to self-implement and trying to skill up. Those training programs are really, really great. As far as I'm aware, they are free for customers. And since you mentioned Chicago, there is also an analytics hackathon that's going down, I believe, the morning before Midwest Dreamin'. I have to check my dates on that. I'm not 100% positive. But yeah, so that'll be going down the week at Midwest Dreaming on the beginning end of it. And for more information on that, you can check out the Einstein Analytics Trailblazer group. It's within the first couple of posts.
Speaking of Midwest Dreaming, what's the likelihood that all of our attendees are going to be going to Midwest Dreaming in a couple weeks?
I still owe you a deck.
Please, anybody speaking as a member of the core planning team? Pete, I know you are. Oh, wait, that was you who just spoke up. You sound a lot like Squire. Yep. You two sound a lot alike.
Maybe we are the same guy. You don't even know.
Oh, don't do that. It's Friday afternoon. My head hurts and I need a beer.
We should do the barbershop quartet thing.
Yeah. And if you are going and you want to be a member of the crew, there's lots of volunteer options. If you've got the time and the energy, Dale would certainly be excited to have you added to the list. Let him know.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Thank you for calling that one out.
I mean, we've gone, this is what I shouldn't say your fourth year?
So this is my fourth year on the planning team, but Midwest Dreamin', Eric did the first one, I think, in 2011 in Louisville, all because he wasn't able to go to Dreamforce that year, and he just wanted to have his peoples around him. So he got about 100 people at a hotel in Louisville, and then it took a couple of years off, and then I think 2014 was the official reboot, and we've just been going ever since.
And you're getting to the point now where we have to, it's not going to fit into 3 days anymore, is it?
We're getting pretty close. This year we've added an Einstein Analytics track. Last year, the year before, we officially added a nonprofit track. It's more than just admin and developer sessions. We're actually starting to, with support from Salesforce, we're actually able to carve out specific tracks. We have marketing automation tracks, so we have some Pardot and Marketing Cloud ones in there. I would not be surprised if we have some Community Cloud stuff coming down the pipe, maybe next year or the year after, like an officially dedicated track. It's we're getting good stuff. I'm really happy to see how it's growing, not just for us, but at all of the events. I mean, it started, like I said, all of this started with Eric missing Dreamforce, and he just wanted people around him, and now we have 30, 40 some odd of these events around the world.
Yeah, he should probably have some sort of special hat or medal for like the father of Dreamins.
Oh yeah. We jokingly and lovingly call him the Godfather.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this is actually going to be my first year at Midwest Dreamin'. I did submit previously, but apparently building the board game Risk in Salesforce is a little too off the beaten track for people.
I vaguely remember reading that abstract when we were reviewing. It was intriguing, but we were thinking, what's the takeaway? Besides, that was awesome.
Art of the possible. And if you ever want a demo, ping me.
I think you just need to record that and put it out there, and then that's part of your mixtape, to be honest.
Well, Blackjack is almost finished, and when it is, the unmanaged package will be available.
There you go. So I need to flip back over to the chat here, see if anybody's raised their hand. If they haven't, I'm going to keep talking. Sorry. If y'all want me to shut up, please raise your hand and ask a question. Otherwise,
I put a link to that meetup in the chat.
Gotcha.
Is Adi still up from earlier?
Looks like Adi doesn't even have audio.
Okay.
Might have not taken it down. So for those of you who maybe are new to these calls or new to the community, new to Salesforce, So Dreamforce, we know, is the biggest tech event in the world, correct? Has it
That's
hit
correct.
that status yet? Yeah. So that'll be in November. That is, and then you have the world tours, you have Connections, you have Trailhead X, you have those events that are sponsored by Salesforce. The other side is there are members of the community like us who have put together our own conferences. Much smaller, only a couple of days, more affordable, more technically focused, but we have an expo hall, we have sponsors, we have the breakout sessions, but we're focusing more on knowing that that conference might be the only one that you get to go to in a year. We want to give you technical, real, tangible takeaways that you can take back to your orgs, or if you're a consultant, take back to your clients or whatever. Just simply because we have so much less bandwidth for presentations than the 2,500 at Dreamforce, where you can get into the art of the possible and the conceptual and the forward-looking. Like our sessions are from presenters who had a problem, they fixed it, and here's how. Or I love this piece of functionality, here's what you do with it for your company. Which it's a great contrast. Like there are no bad events. There is no bad content. All of it is super good. It's what's the focus and what are you looking for? So for those of you who haven't been to Dreamforce, I highly recommend going at least once. If you haven't been to a regional Dreamin' event, I highly recommend going to those. They all have the Ohana feel. Everybody's there to help each other, regardless of the size and scale of the event. So highly, highly, highly recommend you go to at least one a year if you can.
I'll echo that, Dale. I think sometimes the focus of the learning can sometimes be overshadowed by just simply the kind of the recharge and refocus and networking that the group brings. And so if you add those two together, they're so impactful to just a career and to where you want to go in the next couple months or years. So I can't stress enough how important they are.
Well, and I love that you mentioned that, because my last couple of years as an admin, my sales operations director is one of my good friends. He's been a mentor. He was in my wedding. He, like, every year we talk about budget, and Dreamforce just gets more and more expensive. And I was getting at that point where he realized I wasn't learning anything new technically. I was a user group leader. I was an MVP. I was going more to give back. And I was dumb enough to ask him, why do you keep sending me? Like, I'm not learning anything. And he said, it's an investment for our company because we realize it's where you recharge your batteries. Those are your people. Being around being around other people, talking Salesforce, giving back to the community, doing all of that, we see the change in you when you come back. You come back with new energy. You come back with new spark. That's why it's valuable for us. And I'm like, wow, you're right. I hadn't thought about it that explicitly, but you're absolutely right. So spot on, Squire.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. No, I don't think you can put that in your ROI document that I'm just going to feel good when I get back, but it's 100% accurate.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I could host a whole other call. My wife is a private therapist, so very psychologically geared, and I've read the 5 love languages. I mean, I could host a whole other call on how the 5 love languages incorporates into how you are as an employee and how you interact and what inflates you, what deflates you, what recharges you, all of that. But this is neither the time nor the place for that.
I have a picture of you like Lucy from Peanuts behind a desk.
Take that and one of those really tall turtlenecks and a sport coat with the elbow patches, and yeah, you pretty much nailed it.
Nice.
Yeah. Please, somebody ask a question. Although it is also 5 till. So.
Yeah. How about as it's a feeder in the last 5 minutes? Does anyone want to take a moment to reflect on what they're targeting for the next 6 months? Maybe we might have some group thought on how to best accomplish those things, and maybe not a problem, but more like a roadmap.
Good call. Does anybody have any certifications that they're studying for, anything like that?
Great question.
You're in a safe place. Don't be shy.
We're just so good at this, Dale. We've answered all of the questions.
Exactly. Before they're even asked.
Yep.
I think it's also Friday afternoon, and for some, some might be waiting for us to shut up so they can get on their weekends. Maybe we just let them do that.
We could definitely do that. Let me just see if there's anything remaining that we want to call out one more time. I think we've touched on all of it, huh?
Yeah, next call is in 2 weeks on Friday, August 2nd. We'll have registration links. Well, actually, there's a static registration link. You can go to mvpofficehours.info to get to registering for the next event. And yeah, that's that. This has been recorded. It'll be uploaded to YouTube on our YouTube channel sometime either this afternoon or over the weekend if anybody wants to go back and pick anything up. That's all I got.
Thanks for your help, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Always helpful.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks, everyone.